Right Honorable Muda Ashuru, Obasai Speaker, Lagos State of Assembly.
On Tuesday, the 30th of June, the lawmakers deliberated on a motion targeted at removing all vestiges of slave trade and colonial superiority in Lagos as a stand against racism.
We want to support this motion. I think it's a good motion, and it's a good start to what we have in mind, and that bugs every black man on this earth. Yes, it might not go the full hog, but it's a step in the right direction. It can grow to become movies, it can grow to become streets, it can grow to become many other things. But the key thing is our psyche needs to change. Yes, we cannot change history. But remember, history is to encourage us, not to demean us, not to discourage us, not to make us feel less than we are. Any history that is written that portrays you as a slave, that you are lower to another being created by God, is bad history. That history needs to be retold. The narratives must change. Those that perpetrated this, their names should be erased from history if possible.
This is a very vexatious and unfortunate incident for the life of a human being to have been treated that way. But the truth of the matter is that we need also to check ourselves, especially the black man. We need to look at how we treat ourselves, how we treat our people. Those are the signs that give the other part of the world that we really don't value ourselves. How we house our people, how we provide facilities, these things are indicators to that we really value ourselves. I remember very vividly when the late Chief M.K. Abiola was fighting for reparation. After his death, that kind of thing died with him. So those are issues that we need to address. Why not trying to scratch the surface by telling ourselves that we need to remove the vestiges of slave trade? Yes, we cannot forget our history. If we go to my honorable deputy because leader referred to Blekete in Badagry. Blekete is a demonstration of what happened to us. It's not a sign. We cannot wipe out history. We cannot tell our people that this thing never happened. Of course it did, and we are not promoting slavery. But at the same time, we need to remind our people. So I don't want to support the issue of completely removing all the vestiges. But those things that makes our people humiliate our people in the upper part of the world, that do not allow the Western world to give us our dues in society. We need to look into that among ourselves and find a way to have a better government to value the life of our people. Then we can actually tell the other world that here, this is how we are treating our countrymen.
It was a time to draw attention to streets, gardens and other notable areas named after colonial masters or beneficiaries of slave trade. The mover of the motion, Nohim Adams, made reference to the recent murder of George Floyd by white police officer Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis, the United States. He says such evil act is drawing attention to the realities of anti-black violence and racism despite abolition of slave trade in 1807.
The gruesome killing on Monday, 25th May 2020 at Minneapolis, Minnesota, United States of America, of a black man, George Floyd, 46-year-old, by a white police officer named Derek Chauvin, who suffocated him to death by kneeling on his neck for nearly 9 minutes, despite his plea of "I can't breathe." This house further notes that this brutal and callous murder of Floyd triggered worldwide condemnations, demonstrations, and protests against the continuous police violence and racism of black in US and across Europe without provocation. This House is aware that these protests further drew attention to the reality of systematic racism, oppression, and domination of blacks by whites in spite of abolition of vexatious slave trade and related activities since the 18th century. This House is further aware that the demonstration brought about the pulling down of statues of Edward Colston, notable slave trader, into a river in Bristol, London, while the British authorities removed from our museum statues of another prominent slave master and promised a review of history pertaining to slave trade, monuments, and sites. This House is aware of the enactment of the listed site preservation law, Cap L 86 Volume 1, Laws of Lagos 2015, aimed at preservation, protection, and restoration of historical properties in the state. And this House observes the need to review aspects of the law relating to the slave trade in order to correct erroneous impression of colonial masters' superiority on their ascension. This House resolves to call on Mr. Obajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, Governor of Lagos State, to direct the Commissioner for Tourism, Art and Culture to liaise with the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice to look at the listed site preservation law 2015 with a view to removing all vestiges of slave trade and colonialism superiority.
Lawmakers' requests are clear. They want President Muhammadu Buhari to issue an executive order for the change of all streets, gardens, and notable locations named after beneficiaries of slave trade across the country. They also called on the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to direct the State Commissioner for Tourism, Arts and Culture and Art of Justice to take a look at the listed site preservation law of 2015 with a view to removing all vestiges of slave trade as their own way of standing against racism in the country.
Our own heritage and culture, then our history will be told, and the world will equally respect our heritage. On that premise, sir, it is not only George Floyd that was killed. Immediately after the demise of George Floyd and the protesters started, I can say on authority that Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia was equally murdered in that manner. And the same goes to Breonna Taylor in Kentucky. It was also murdered in that direction. Most of the artifacts of Africans were taken down to their country. And I can remember when I went to Vienna and I was asked to come and check some of the artifacts in their museum. I was surprised. Some artifacts from some lyrics from Oyo State, some from Badagry. They only came to loot. They came to humanize us. And what we are now saying is not just, we cannot forget our history.
From time immemorial, we have been ripped of our integrity, our pride, and everything that has to do with the black endowment. And the honest truth is we cannot continue to glorify the white ideologies that seem to have engulfed ourselves in. I want to take you from the angle of, for example, the streets we have across everywhere. We have, for example, we have Glover Road, we have Lugard Road, we have all those roads. Hardly would you go to a street in London or a street in America, would you find Obasa Street, or would you find Kasumu Avenue in America, in London? But we keep on glorifying these so-called people when we can obviously channel our efforts to encouraging ourselves and promoting ourselves more.
Our people are more better. They are intellectually sound upstairs. They are more focused. They are more resourceful. They are more productive. You understand? So these days, we must do things that will make Americans, to those white men, to feel we are superior. This is global village, where opportunities are open to everybody to compete. And most of our people that were being fed to that world, they are the best brain there, they use them. There are limitations they can reach. All these, we cannot come and start celebrating them back home and start putting them and start taking our children to there. This is where your father was frightened out of the country to go and do slave. Are we encouraging them? You understand? We may still part of history, fine, but it's not our way of life. It's not our culture. It's not our value. We must promote more of our value. We must promote more of our culture. We must promote more of our way of life.
We have a lot of leaders and other people that we can actually use their name to replace these foreigners who has depicted racism, slavery, as the case may be, sir. We can look inward. For me, when you look at the issue of George Ford, it was really very pathetic. And I think for me also it's an eye-opener for all of us, especially the blacks. I believe that white are not superior than us. But we need to also remove this mentality of they are better than us. I could as well remember what happened about 2 years ago in Libya here, where some Nigerians were being sold. If not for an undercovered journalist who pictured it, and so how they were trading Nigerians in particular, $2,000, $400, and the thing was blown open, and that was how they were rescued. Slave trade for me is a crime, a big one.
To the Americans and to the black people in America over these deaths, I would like to look at it from another side, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. It is bad enough that black people are being killed in a foreign country, but it's also an awakening for us here in Africa. I want to support what a lot of my colleagues have said concerning self-realization, self-awakening, self-consciousness. This is a time for us to see that the ills that are happening outside should not affect us on the inside. We understand a lot of us have gone outside the country, especially in America, and then they address us, even our own black people address us as Africans. Meanwhile, their forefathers left here many years ago, and we begin to develop the inferiority complex. So I am in total support. Streets that are not named after Africans should be changed. Understanding who we are, understanding our culture, the people that what we worshipped in those days should also be understood. This will help us in understanding who we are as a people. If we don't understand our background, we cannot understand the future.
We should not shy away from our history. We should try and maintain all our monumental structures so for the generation yet unborn to meet things on ground. However, because if we tap into it very well, it can also serve as a source of income in terms of tourism to other people coming in. However, sir, I would also want to support Honorable Desmond Elliott by looking at the names, street names of the existing street names we have, where we have the McPherson, Liverpool, Coal Creek, and what have you. If they have no value added to the area or whatever, we can rename such streets and roads to our own prominent people that have contributed positively one way or the other.
The history has been documented and it cannot be changed. But it is for us now to look at the history, as rightly observed by Honorable Lumo, to look at the history. What we have in our books, are they true? Look at River Niger. We were told when we were in primary school, River Niger was discovered by Mungo Park and what is it called, brothers. Is that the fact? Are they saying nobody was existing along that river before their arrival? So we have to change all these things. We can't say that is a name. Look at our country name has been observed by Professor Oyebode. Our country has been named Nigeria by who? A foreigner, a colonial master. So these are the things we have to address. These are the things we have to look. And looking, you see, supremacy is all about your own mind, what you want to believe. If you want to believe Mr. A is superior than you, then it is your own mind. White or black, it doesn't matter. But it is what you believe. It is your own, what is it called, your own mind that says what you are. We don't have to accept that I'm not in this, on the same pedestal with those who have different colors from mine. It's about what you can achieve. It's about what you can do on your own. And it starts from displaying, exhibiting your own belief, your own culture. Every time you want to think where it's your thinking line about. You think Western world. You think like an American. You think like a foreigner. That is where it starts from. It's so bad, even some of our children cannot even speak our mother tongue. That is a part of the problem. So we must learn to correct all this by changing all this orientation.